Hi. I've been talking about how old patriarchal rules have been holding my MVP club members back and other clients as well. And I want to continue that today. Last time I talked about the subconscious rules that were limiting their mindset. Today, let me tell you about how patriarchal rules have shown up to limit their visibility. Visibility, visibility is the V in MVP. So in the MVP framework I use, visibility is about getting out in front of a bigger audience, the people you're here for. Whether that's through your writing, your videos, in person speaking, however you reach them. And let me tell you, patriarchal rules that limit our visibility have really dug deep into the subconscious of many, many women. And that includes the most successful of us. Uh, I've said this before. It's been surprising to me how they show up in women who are totally not um, consciously accepting those patriarchal rules. So let me give you a couple of examples here. A number of my clients have had a block that sounded something like, "No one wants to hear what I have to say." Okay. And these can come from being passed over at school and instead watching the boys with their hands raised get called on. Research shows that at least in the past happened a lot more than chance would say. It can come from being talked over at work. Like you have something to say and the man says it and suddenly they get all the credit, even though you were the first one to start it. Or, and this is most surprising of all to us, these were messages from our mothers to don't speak up, don't stand out. And as we explored those messages from our mothers, who, in many ways, our mothers were our most supportive cheerleaders. Not always, but quite often. And these wonderful, loving, supportive mothers gave us this message: don't stand out, don't speak up, don't get noticed. They were trying to keep us safe. That was pretty clear. They were passing down lessons that they had received from their mothers, who had received it from theirs, and it goes on and on up through the generations. Maybe it goes back to the Victorian era rules that a true lady will never be mentioned in a newspaper for any reason, which was a funny one that I came across years back. But it probably goes back much further. To be safe, to be loved, to be protected in the past meant not drawing attention to yourself on a bigger scale. Being the supporter of the man who's going to protect you and care for you and your children. So this comes from the past, but even though those lessons are now outdated and we know they don't serve us, there they are in our subconscious, getting triggered whenever we're in danger of being seen in a much bigger way. Okay, so that's one example of the way a patriarchal rule can work its way in to and get in the way of being more visible. Another way an old patriarchal rule that it's not safe to be seen can find its way into our subconscious is really more direct. This is when a man has the belief that he can treat girls or women like possessions, like things for his enjoyment, as if they're somehow less than him. Now, I'm going to say I have a lot of wonderful men in my life, starting first and foremost with my amazing husband, who is more of a feminist than I am. Okay, he is like adamant that that's wrong. But there are plenty of men out there who got that old patriarchal expectation that a woman is meant to serve you, that she's not as important as you are. And, you can find that old patriarchal rule going all the way back in our written works, including laws that equated women and children with chattel. Chattel is another way of saying personal property. Now, these days, that kind of treatment can and does happen to women, and including my clients, in all kinds of ways. Many have been molested as children. Many have been treated like personal servants at work, at a job, like being tasked with actions like getting the coffee for the department or organizing the holiday party. That's It's just not part of their job description, but because they were the woman, they got the job. The many times considered menial, less than, unimportant. And then there's other ways that aren't as obvious, but they're still somewhat demeaning. So the woman goes through this. She internalizes the belief that it's just safer not to be noticed, even when she's treated well by other men in her life, supportive spouses, her friends, or even a really good male boss. That rule can be internalized, and it's going to still be there, even with these other conscious supports in place. I want to tell you about a client of mine who had a really egregious example of this. Um, she is a client who has something really big to get out in the world. It's a new program that she knows is going to change lives, but she's been really stuck. She wasn't doing her newsletters, her videos, the social media posts, and all the other marketing that she needed to get that program out there in a bigger way for people to find. And she just had no idea why. When we went digging, almost immediately up comes a coworker from a job, one of her first jobs way back when, who this coworker had made comments to her, about her, to others at work. He had followed her around, leering at her. He acted as if he had a right to treat her in that really horrible way. Now, if this hasn't happened to you, I am sure that you know at least one other woman out there who it has happened to. And lots of my clients have a similar story to tell. It's still happening today. This isn't, the laws that have been taken off the books. This is happening all the time. And even if the woman knows it isn't right, even after she's moved on from the original jerk, from the company, even from that type of work, that internalized rule that it's not safe to be seen can linger. It makes her hesitant to speak up, to stand out, to be noticed. Because if you're noticed, then another jerk might start acting that same way. So your subconscious gets going to keep you safe. That is what happened to my client. So what we did is we tapped on some of those experiences with that jerk coworker, released the stuff around it, released that subconscious programming that it wasn't safe to be seen that way. And now she's marketing her program. She's doing it with enthusiasm. She is excited about all the attention she's going to get when she gets it out in the world in this bigger way that she's working towards. Okay. So does any of this sound like you? Do you find yourself reluctant to get yourself out there and be seen in a bigger way? If you do, go ahead and drop it in the comments below, or you can email me, nancy@unblockresults.com. I'd love to hear about what's going on with you. Next time I'm going to finish up this sweep about patriarchal rules that we've internalized into our subconscious. Excuse me. And I will tell you about just a few of the many, many, many patriarchal profitability blocks that have slowed down my clients and me. I'll admit that, me too. Okay. Until I see you next time, happy tapping.